Cześć! Zapraszam Was serdecznie na pierwszą część mojej rozmowy z Grahamem Bonnettem, czyli wybitnym wokalistą hard rockowym, który w swojej karierze współpracował z takimi zespołami jak Rainbow, z którym nagrał fantastyczny album Down to Earth, gdzie znajdują się takie przeboje jak Since You've Been Gone, czy All Night Long. Graham śpiewał też w zespole Michael Schenker Group, z którym to zespołem nagrał album Assault Attack, a na tym albumie możemy usłyszeć takie utwory jak Desert Song, czy Samurai. Śpiewał też w zespole Alcatraz, w którym to zespole miał okazję współpracować z takimi gigantami gitary jak Steve Vai czy Yngwie Malmsteen, z którym to nagrał m.in. znakomity hardrockowy album No Parole for Rock and Roll, a na nim znalazły się takie perełki jak Hiroshima Mon Amour, czy chociażby Jet to Jet. Na jego solowym albumie Line Up możecie usłyszeć taką wspaniałą kompozycję jak Night Games, czy Liar. Graham ciągle koncertuje, nagrywa nowe albumy, a najnowszy album, który ukaże się tego lata, będzie zawierał utwory z gościnnym udziałem takich znakomitości jak Bruce Dickinson czy Roger Glover. Zatem zapraszam Was serdecznie. Przed Wami Graham Bonnet. Miłego odbioru.
You know, I listened to your first albums, and it's not hard rock for sure. These covers of, for example, "Tired of Being Alone," "Will You Love Me Tomorrow,"
Yeah.
that kind of singing, I think, fits you very well. Anyway, so
Yeah.
don't you think about because later on you come back to that kind of music, I think, in some albums. But do you
Yeah.
plan to record anything in that style?
That's
Again?
one.
That
Oh, in
style,
that style?
yeah.
Oh, possibly. I mean, music is music to me. I don't care what kind of genre you might want to call it. But, you know, back then, even when I was doing those, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow and et cetera, I'm still using the same voice then as I did in, Down to Earth with Rainbow. It's the same voice. It's just different notes and different volumes. It's I didn't change my voice in any way to be a so-called heavy metal or heavy rock singer or whatever. It's always there. I always have these different voices. Depends what the song is, you know. So if it's sweet, it's sweet. If it's loud, it's loud, you know. So I can adapt pretty well, you know, to any kind of music. From my upbringing, in the early years, I played in a band, a dance band. We played for dancing. And so I was singing like standard, Frank Sinatra songs and things like that. And then suddenly we're singing the Beatles song, then this and that. So all different styles. I've been very lucky to have that experience, I think. And I've listened to Paul McCartney talk about when they played in Hamburg. They always played, everything that was in the top 40. So he did the same thing. He changed his voice for every certain kind of music, certain songs. Sometimes it's like Little Richard. Sometimes it's like Elvis, So, I've had a good learning, teaching from different kinds of music I've played since I was very young, really. Did that make sense? I don't know. Sort of.
Yeah, of course. There's even a country song, Rock Island Line.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash, I think, recorded this song. Anyway, previously someone else recorded its old song, but this idea to record even country song, where it comes from, it's just like you like this song and you want to record it, and that's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Mickey Moody, the guitar player, we were just messing around one day in the studio after, having a break, and I started singing Rock Island Line. I said, we should do that. So it went on the album because Mickey loved that song. And the Rock Island Line is a mighty good road, So we did it, And what's wrong? Nothing wrong with that. I think people get a bit snobbish about what kind of music you should like and not like, I mean, I'm the same. I'm very much a musical snob. Certain kinds of music I can't stand, but then other things I love. It's so anyway, why not do something that's completely off the wall? Not what you expect from someone who's supposed to be a heavy rock singer or whatever,
Yeah.
Or well, now, but I was using this, as I said, my voice hasn't changed in any way. I'm still singing with the same tones, and it just, it's just singing. To me, it's not a big jump, if you know what I mean, from pop to what I'm doing now.
Warm Ride. I like also this song. It's a disco kind in style of the Bee Gees, I can say, because in these times the Bee Gees were on the top of their game, I can say. It may be also a surprise for your fans, but anyway, you say that you sing what you like. It's not a big deal, as you say. And what's the story behind this song?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't want to do it. Well, I got a demo from Robin Gibb, and he sent me the song, and I thought, what the hell is this? And me and my manager sat there. I said, I don't know, but Barry's going to look at it. So Barry Gibb got hold of the song that Robin had made up, and put words to it, and etc. And then it became Warm Ride, and it was going to be in the movie Saturday Night Fever, but it didn't go in because they had enough songs or something. It would have been nice if it went in there, but when I did it, I said, I can't do this. It's like disco, But it was fun to do, and once in a while we played that live. In fact, the last time we played it live was on an acoustic guitar in Australia. So it was an acoustic version of Warm Ride, which is different again.
Yeah.
Warm Ride, But it's fun. I just like singing. I don't care what the hell it is. This album we've made. We're just in the middle of producing the thing. It has different kinds of flavors. Each song is slightly different to the other. I mean, we're not singing folk music, but all the songs are slightly different and a little bit unexpected, I would say. There's one song I wrote which has got a very famous person playing guitar on it, which you'll find out about later when we got the finality of his recording on this album. So it's good to have somebody who's he's such a different guitar player. You recognize his style anywhere. Anyway, it's you'll see, and it's a tribute song to one of my friends, and it was kind of, I made it up on my acoustic, and we didn't think we should record it, but suddenly it came to life when we already put it together in the studio, and it was like, oh, this is okay. This will fit the songs, the other songs. It's variety. That's what I loved about the Beatles. You were unexpected. You had, Helter Skelter
Yeah.
You know, oh, that, you know, and all that kind of thing. Then there's suddenly, who knows how long I've loved you. I like that, you know, and that shows versatility. And I think it makes the audience more interested. Like, oh, what's going to come next? Not another, you know, not the expected. A bit of the unexpected is always a bit of a good thing to do, I think. And that's what we like to do. And so with this album now, I think we have a lot of things we thought would never be accepted by people who like heavy rock, you know, and all this, you know.
Right.
But I think you'll be surprised how much music is very similar in many ways, you know. I think it's going to be, people will be surprised by a couple of things, but I think they will like it anyway. You have to. Otherwise, I'm going to come out there and kill you all.
When it comes,
No, it's good. I'm very happy with it.
when the album will come, when it will appear.
We think what I said about.
It's hard to say, but
What do you think?
summer.
Yeah, summer maybe.
Yeah.
Summertime.
Okay. Yeah, I know that Roger Glover will appear appeared on this album as a guest.
Yes.
So it was first time since Rainbow Days that you cooperate.
Absolutely. Yeah. We sent him. I thought, well, I wonder if Roger would do something, because I thought of him, you know, playing on the album. He's, you know, because we haven't seen it. We saw it sort of a while back, but he's never actually played with me at all. You know, recorded with me, and so we sent him some tracks. There were some songs by Russ Ballard and one that we wrote, and he said, "I can tell they're Russ Ballard songs, but I like your song better." So he did this song, which is a very sweet song in a way. And he said he did a bass part on it, and he said, "Is that okay?" And I said, "Absolutely." It's very simple and very straightforward, but it's Roger Glover playing bass, and it's great. I'm so proud that he liked the song more than Russ's song. But anyway, that's just one person who's on the album that's a special guest.
Mm-hmm. Can you say who's more there, or any other musician you can mention that will that appeared on this album?
Kai Hansen from Halloween, and
okay.
Bruce Dickinson from Bruce Dickinson.
Iron Maiden,
From him, you know. So they're the two I can mention so far, along with Roger. The other one, we've got one more person who hasn't quite finished what he's doing yet, but we're almost there with him. So he'll be announced pretty soon, I think.
Okay.
And you'll be very surprised who that is.
Oh, I cannot wait. I just, you know, very curious about it. Some time ago, you told me, also, I read it very often. You didn't like glam hard rock style, yeah, because end of the 70s, you had offered to join Sweet, and you just declined it and joined, I think, Rainbow then, yeah? It was like that?
Yeah. It was after a long silence in my career. I was recording some solo stuff with Pip Williams, our the producer, and he was producing Sweet as well as me at the same time 1 year. And he said, "I'd like you to meet the band." I said, "Okay." So we're in this pub, where else, one afternoon, and they all came in, and Pip said, "How do you feel about singing with the band, with these guys?" Because the other singer was leaving or something, Brian. I said, "Well, it's not really my kind of thing." I said, "Yeah," and I didn't really fancy that, so I just turned it down. But yes, I was offered that job, but it didn't appeal to me.
I see you, for example, in Uriah Heep. I can hear this voice fit to Uriah Heep songs. What do you think about it? Uriah Heep.
Uriah Heep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They asked me, and that was another band. I said, "I don't know. I don't think I'm right for this." I turned that down because I didn't really know their music anyway, you know. So it didn't sound right. Uriah Heep. Graham Bonnet sings for Uriah Heep. It didn't sound right. I didn't feel like a Uriah Heep. That sounds like a pile of turds. You know what I mean? I didn't like the title of the band. And to be honest with you, I didn't know their music, so I turned it down.
Okay. When it was, what time it was, more or less? Which year, or can you remember which year, which period it was when the offer comes?
Oh, shit, it'd been 1970 something, maybe.
End of 70s, maybe.
70, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a long time ago. I can't remember. Because I had a few offers from different bands, you know, and I didn't know what to do. I ended up at one point playing with a band called Southern Comfort, playing bass and singing, which is it was a British band, but they did By the Time I Get to Woodstock, na, 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 na. They did. It was a cover version of that. Was it Crosby, Stills and Nash did it? I think.
Yes.
And it was a hit in England, and I went out as their new singer and bass player. But that was a very short-lived thing. It was only for a couple of months. It was Ian Matthews, Southern Comfort, originally. Ian Matthews left. He was the singer. And they wanted me to replace him and play bass. So, yeah, just for a short time. And I got very bored with it. And I said, we've got to have a bit of rock and roll in this, haven't we? You know, because we had a slide guitar, you know, all that going on. It was a bit strange for me. But, you know, the boys were great singers, had nice harmonies. We had really great harmonies. But it was all a bit too the same for me. I wanted something to happen, you know, something to, you know, to make me a bit more excited. So we put in like Johnny Be Good at the end of the show. That was like the most rock and roll song we did. You know, Johnny Be Good and, I don't know, something else. But and I would play guitar on that, you know. Goodbye, Johnny, you know. So, yeah, that was short-lived, but it was an experience that I wouldn't have missed. It was great.
Back to beginning of Alcatraz, for example. Yeah, it was also, I can say, your prime time as a singer. Can we say like that? Because then you go to this hard rock and heavy, I can say, repertoire, and you sang, you know, your voice was very strong, and so yeah, I don't say that now it's not, but anyway, then I can say it was prime time for you as a singer.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was enjoying it, and so I put my heart and soul into it, you know. And some of the songs we recorded, I really, really liked. You know, it was another way of expressing myself vocally. And when it comes to how I am now, it's still very, very strong. I'm glad to say, my vocals, and the songs we're making up now are all a little bit more interesting than just so-called heavy rock, even though they are heavy. Some of the tracks are heavy, but it was good fun, and that was something I thought I would always do. I would always be a solo singer who didn't get so well known, except for like in countries like Australia and Germany, everywhere, but in my own country of England, you know, Great Britain. It was kind of a strange place to be. And when this offer of bands came up, my manager was eager for me to join a band, and he was in the end. I think he was right. That's when eventually Rainbow came along, and I took that job.
You have also your own version of Alcatraz. Is it still active? Is it still playing?
No, Alcatraz is dead.
Okay.
You did write those songs with Jeff.
I started to write with a guitar player called Jeff Loomis, and we were going to do a sort of an Alcatraz album of my Alcatraz, you know. And Jeff is now doing his own band. What's his band called?
Nevermore.
Yeah, he's gone back to his old band called Nevermore. So he's doing that at the moment. But he got in touch recently, and these tracks might come to some kind of fruition. We wrote together 7 songs already, and that's about 2 years ago. But it didn't come to anything because of other commitments, you know. But we will see what happens.
How you recall Bruce Kulick, who was also a phenomenal guitar player, maybe not so well known anyway, but he was great guitar player, and you also cooperate with him few times. Yeah, how you remember this Bruce Kulick?
Bob.
Bruce or Bob?
Bob Kulick.
Bob Kulick, sorry, Bob Kulick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually did play with Bruce. Played bass on some things I did at one point. But Bob Kulick we're in a band called Blackthorn. We put that together, and that didn't last for very long. It was very unsuccessful, I think. But people kind of knew it, who were really, hardcore heavy metal fans, but it didn't really do very much, and it wasn't a happy time, to be honest with you. There were lots of arguments about what we should do, blah 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 blah. So I didn't last with that band for very long, I'm glad to say. And I saw Bob. We actually played with Bob Kulick a few years ago, I should say, and he came. We were in Vegas, and he came and played on stage with us, and it was very good to see him again. And all the bad stuff had gone down the toilet. We forgot all about that, and it was probably one of the last gigs he did. Because much later, he died. And it was much of a surprise for us. It was horrible, very sad. And he was a great guitar player, really was.
Underground, this album from 1996. I think you were very influenced by grunge music, because when I hear this album, I hear some Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, maybe even Underground album, your album Underground from 1996.
But Underground, yeah, that wasn't my idea. That was Danny Johnson. We tried to be kind of trendy and groovy, and that I thought that was going to be. We were going to be a band, like a fake band, and it ended up it being a Graham Bonnet album, and I don't know why, but we tried to be fashionable, and it didn't really work. But there were some good songs on there, even though it didn't happen. Danny Johnson was a guitar player, and it had, in fact, Bruce played on that. Bruce Kulick played on that, and but it wasn't the right time to do that. There were other people that did it better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think it wasn't. We weren't being very honest to ourselves.
Most amazing concert you ever played? I mean, some unconventional plays. It's stick in your mind for any reason. Yeah. Do you have such event in your mind? Interesting.
Well, I mean, the one I can think of is the Monsters of Rock concert in Donington, Castle Donington. That's the one thing that sticks out to me, because I couldn't believe where that was actually going to be held, in the middle of nowhere in England, and I'll always remember it, because I remember the guy that was putting it on, the promoter, and the guy that actually booked everything. He said, "Well, I don't think we're going to get a crowd for this. We'll probably get about 8,000 people." You have no idea. The farmland was covered with people. It was like it came to be 100,000 people that we played to, and I will never forget that, because it was as I said, in the middle of nowhere. It had been raining, and there was a lot of mud around, and it was almost didn't happen at one point. But when it did, it was fucking great. It was the best thing I've ever done. I think the memories there are irreplaceable. I'll never forget it. My mum and dad were there, and my brother, and blah blah blah. Everybody I knew was there in the audience, and it was so successful that they couldn't believe how well they did there, with this concert. And so it still goes on, I think, the Donington thing, Castle Donington. Well, we when we played live with Rainbow, I did a couple of his songs as well. Stargazer, and whatever, Long Live Rock and Roll, of course. But I've already done a tribute to Ronnie by singing those songs years ago, I guess. But no problem with me. I like some of the songs very much. Catch the Rainbow is one of my favorite. So hey, anytime.
Yeah. So anyway, you like, you say that Long Live Rock and Roll, you don't like that song, yeah?
I didn't like that. That's one of the songs that I thought was like a little bit of a throwaway, just to get. It's a typical sort of get the audience going song. You know what I mean? Long live rock. You know what I mean? It's one of those that it didn't interest me that much, but it was always fun to sing, because I saw the reaction of the audience. So,
And
I've lots of songs I've written that I go, oh, I don't think I should do that. And then I'm very surprised when people say to me, why didn't you do, I didn't think it was that good. Yeah, you should do that, I've got my mind is sometimes very mixed up about which are good songs and which are bad, because sometimes you just don't know. It's always better to listen to an outsider tell you, that's really good, you should do that live, instead of my head going, I don't like that. That's just the way it is. Sometimes you don't like you like what you do, then you go, it could have been better.